Well, the local time here in Algeria, sorry, I'm so sorry. The local time here in Algeria is 2:30 p.m. And I believe in Istanbul, Turkey is 4:30, right? So always with the same topic, teaching online in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have about 4 or 5 presenters. Let's say we have 4 presentations, right? The first one will be from Morocco, Assistant Professor Fatima Gaddar. And the second presentation will be performed, I believe, by 2. Dr. Min Bektash. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce any names. Please excuse me. I'm a foreigner, right? So can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, your voice is clear.
Okay. So the second presentation will be by Dr. Min Bektash. I said, excuse me if I mispronounce any names, right? Because I'm a foreigner. Okay. So the second presentation will be by Dr. Min Bektash. Is that correct? Who is an instructor and a postgraduate student at Urdu University from Turkey. Together with the Professor Dr. Turgay Han, who is an associate professor from Urdu University, Turkey. The third presentation will be done by Gülten Gushar, who is an assistant professor also at Hatay Mustafa Kemal University, Turkey. And we will be concluding with the final presentation done by assistant professor Jamil Dogan Sahar Balbay. All right, now that we have an idea about the presenters, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Sofian Mafa, associate professor at the Department of English, Faculty of Letters and Languages, University of Tamanrasset, Algeria, south of Algeria. So as you can see, it's really hot in here. I believe each presentation will be given about 10 minutes time, right? And then let's say 10 minutes time, every presentation, that will be about 40 minutes. And then we will have about 20 minutes to half an hour. Okay? Is that okay?
Okay, yeah.
All right. So the 20 minutes or the half an hour will be dedicated to any discussion, an open discussion, a debate. So anybody who will have a question, something to add, you will be given an opportunity of 20 to 30 minutes. All right, so I think we're good to go with the first presenter, Dr. or Assistant Professor Fatima Gaddar, who is an assistant professor at Mohammed V University of Rabat, Morocco. Her presentation will be entitled Students' Perceptions of Online Education at Tertiary Level. So start when ready.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is my voice clear? Can you hear me clearly?
So clear. It's so clear. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure and honor to participate in today's significant event about a timely issue. I believe that the conference is of great importance to all the stakeholders involved in the educational field, especially in this challenging time when educational professionals and students worldwide are undergoing the COVID-19 pandemic pressure. Okay, can you see my presentation, my PowerPoint? Yeah? Perfect, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Gaddar? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Okay, as you can see, my intervention is entitled Students' Perceptions of Online Education at Tertiary Level. As of March 2020, the pandemic-induced school closure has confronted both teachers and students with an entirely new situation. To guarantee the continuity of the educational process, teachers have been required to move to an online delivery of lessons. In fact, they have been tasked with the implementation of distance teaching modalities without sufficient training, resources, or preparation time. The presentation is organized into 5 main sections. First, I will present the objectives of the study, followed by a general background about the target institution, namely the National School of Arts and Crafts in Rabat. a few words about the methodology adopted in this piece of research will be said. Then the findings of the study will be discussed with a special focus on students' attitudes towards learning English online, its challenges and prospects. The presentation concludes with a set of implications. The present study has tried to elicit students' attitudes towards online education during the COVID-19 crisis. Another concern of the study has been to uncover some of the factors that have shaped the respondents' attitudes and to investigate the likely post-pandemic scenarios. Before I dwell on these issues, let me say a few words about the target institution, namely the National School of Arts and Crafts in Rabat. It is an institution of higher education, which is affiliated to the Ministry of National Education, and it is a limited access institution. It is authorized to prepare state engineers diploma, and its mission is to prepare highly qualified design and technology engineers. Like most schools, the institution wasn't prepared for moving classes online, and the changes that have been imposed by the COVID-19 crisis have necessitated profound transformations in this institution. To meet the objectives of the study, an exploratory research design has been adopted. A semi-structured questionnaire was designed and administered to 109 randomly chosen students. And only 25% of them have already had an e-learning experience, whereas 75% of these respondents admit that it is their first online experience. To analyze the data, both descriptive statistics and thematic analysis are adopted in this study. The data analysis yields very significant findings. Interestingly enough, the overwhelming majority of the respondents held positive attitudes towards face-to-face learning. More specifically, 85% of the learners consider face-to-face learning as being effective. Here I'm talking about those who consider it as very effective and effective, of course. Whereas only 50% of the learners have admitted that learning English online during the pandemic has effectively enhanced their English language skills. Contrary-wise, only 11% of the respondents expressed negative attitudes towards the traditional mode of learning. And the percentage of those who held the same view towards learning English online is higher, with 29% of the total responses. For those who consider online learning as being ineffective, they assume that this new mode of learning cannot be as effective as face-to-face instruction and cannot serve the ultimate purpose of education. Some of the respondents declared that the experience has not been very effective in terms of increasing their communicative competence, an inconvenience which they have partially attributed to the absence of the nonverbal language. This matter of fact is seen as a major deficit of learning English online. For them, language learning cannot be fully a successful experience unless a direct contact between teachers and students is maintained. Based on the respondents' views, the online experience has not been without hindrances. The data analysis has uncovered a range of challenges. For the majority of the students, situational and environmental concerns, content issues, technical problems, and some technological issues have emerged as significant challenges. One important challenge that has been reported by the students is related to the course content. 82% of the respondents feel that the content of the online courses or the online lessons has less quality in terms of interactivity. Therefore, they find online courses less engaging compared to face-to-face classes. In fact, 65% of the respondents have also pointed out that they are struggling to adjust to this new mode of learning. They feel that learning online does not motivate and engage them for a long period of time. So they can easily get distracted and lose concentration during online sessions. The overwhelming majority of the respondents also reported that one of the biggest challenges they face is the difficulty to concentrate because of their lack of a private or quiet area within their home environment. 87% of the students stated that they are oftentimes easily distracted by small things while attending an online course. Worse still are some privacy issues they face when they want to participate or turn on their camera. The next factor the students pointed out is the lack of personal contact and face-to-face interaction between teachers and students. Without this human contact, 88% of the students have stated that they sometimes get frustrated and demotivated, while others have reported having feelings of isolation and loneliness when facing the screen. Some technical issues have also emerged as significant hindrance. In fact, 56% of the students said that they are not equipped with the strong internet connection that online courses require. Therefore, those with poor and unstable internet connectivity, especially the ones who live in remote rural areas, complain about the amount of time they waste and the double effort they have to deploy compared to the students who enjoy a high-speed internet access at home. Closely related to the internet issue is some of the students' deficit in digital competence when they first had to face abrupt change to online learning. In fact, 34% of the students reported that they have faced some technological problems. Online platforms were unfamiliar to a large number of them, as they have always been deeply engaged in the traditional face-to-face mode of learning. 75% of the respondents have admitted that it is their first online learning experience. And with their limited ability to use online platforms, they have found themselves struggling with this entirely new and different mode of learning. Despite the aforementioned problems, the perception that these challenges can be overcome is strong among the students. Generally, the results of this study are encouraging in terms of the adoption of online education in the National School of Arts and Crafts in Rabat. The overwhelming majority of the students, more specifically 71%, have clearly demonstrated their willingness to use the new technology actively in the process of learning English. Additionally, they strongly believe that online education should not be considered just as an emergency remedy, but as a way of enriching and extending the existing educational experience. Accordingly, the integration of the new technology into the educational experience and the adoption of a blended mode of education in the post-COVID-19 era is an option that is highly appreciated and welcomed by the respondents of the present study. In the light of the study, or the results of the study, a number of conclusions can be drawn. In fact, the current pandemic can be perceived as an agent that has highlighted the need for an urgent educational reform that best responds to the needs of the modern society. A series of training programs for faculty professional development are needed, especially in issues related to content development. Teachers also need to understand that the course content that was designed earlier in accordance with the norms of the traditional face-to-face instruction requires to be redesigned. This course content may work well in traditional classrooms, but the same does not necessarily apply to online classes. With this in mind, faculty members should work hard in order to develop a strong understanding of the learning management systems and web technologies. Add to this, it is evident that there is a strong need for building high-speed network infrastructure to support online learning. At the end, it would be very interesting to adopt a blended mode of education in higher education, so as to incorporate the new technology in the educational experience, while preserving and enhancing the benefits of the traditional face-to-face instruction. And thank you so much for your attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Assistant Professor Fatima Gaddar from the University of Mohammed V, Rabat, Morocco. Thank you so much for your knowledge. Our next presentation will be by Dr. Min Bektash, who is an instructor and a postgraduate student at Urdu University, Turkey, and Professor Dr. Turgay Han, who is also an associate professor at also Urdu University, Turkey. Their presentation is entitled Perspectives of Second English Language Student Teacher Researchers with a Graduate Degree on Research Engagement during their online classes. I start when ready.
Okay.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Just a moment. Okay. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to welcome you all here. And I would like to express my thanks to everybody who has contributed to the organization of this event and my MA advisor, Professor Turgay Han. Actually, I shortened the title of my study to make it clearer. I carried out this study to gain insight into the perspectives of foreign language teachers on research engagement during the COVID-19 online education. I tried to figure out whether students can benefit from reading research to improve their classroom practices and develop themselves professionally. Briefly, this study aims to analyze the relation between theory and transferability of published educational research into teaching and learning settings. And during this 6-week study, the teachers were asked to involve actively in the study by observing and reflecting their own teaching practices. Okay, and in a study, Borg suggests engaging with or in research for professional development. Engaging with research means reading research, which is the main concern of the study, while engaging in research means conducting research. In my study, the participants were 6 teachers enrolled in a master's degree program. I deliberately chose to work with MA degree teachers because they know the nature and process involved in social science research during this COVID-19 pandemic period. At the initial and last stages of the study, interviews were done with the teachers to learn whether they benefited from engaging with research in their teaching experiences. I would like to briefly mention about some previous research results. According to some previous research, English language teachers believed that engaging in research contributed to their professional development. According to a study carried out in 2019, teachers were willing to use research because it gave them emotional support and helped them deal with pedagogical issues. In another study, it was stated that teachers should be encouraged and supported to engage in research. While some teachers benefit from theory, others think that it doesn't improve teaching efficiency. They believe that research has little to do with the real classroom situations. In a study, in Borg's study carried out in 2010, he explained some factors limiting teachers' research engagement. These were some physical accessibility, such as time and resources, lack of institutional support, and limited teacher-researcher initiatives. Because during engaging in or with research, teachers needed guidance, and some teachers think that it is the job of academics or researchers to carry out research. It is not their job to do it. Another study demonstrated an implicit gap between research and pedagogy. And some results showed that teachers addressed specific empirical evidence to solve a classroom issue. teachers believed that specific empirical evidence cannot solve a classroom issue. Okay, now let me move on to the method of my study. The study was conducted as a qualitative case study. A non-experimental research design was preferred because there was no hypothesis or theory tested. A descriptive research was considered suitable. And as I mentioned before, teachers' involvement in research was encouraged by making them reflect on their own professional development. Each week, teachers went through a process of reflection, self-monitoring, and self-evaluation in their own online classes after reading the related research and watching the assigned videos. The articles were chosen from some databases. The rationale behind this choice was regarding data accuracy, reliability, and validity. In the first and second weeks, teachers read and explored the literature about how to motivate learners during online classes. In the second and third weeks, teachers read about how to give instructions. And in the following 2 weeks, teachers were assigned articles related to code switching. The teachers read these articles, they observed themselves in their own teaching context, and took notes and wrote some reflection notes. As a result of the analysis of this data, the final report was written. And I would like to attract your attention to the bold words in the sentences. As a result of reading research and trying to reflect it into their teaching context, participant teachers realized, integrated, became more interested, discovered, gained a deeper insight, or perceived how effective something was, noticed, started to pay more attention, became aware of, increased their knowledge and awareness, changed their way of doing something, remembered their mistake of doing something, and they started to pay more attention to some factors in their teaching contexts. The analysis of teacher notes indicated that some issues was confusing for them, but after reading the related research, they expressed their relief. Teachers realized, or they found beneficial, discovered, and they felt more positive, encouraging at the end of this 6-week study. I tried to summarize the conclusions or the results revealed from the study. These were the keywords that were revealed from the study. Let me go on with the conclusions and discussion part. In sum, the analysis of the data revealed that the teachers, were aware of the significance, relevance, and usefulness of research. The reflective, critical, and analytical approach of this study provided deeper insight into the relationship of SLA research and language teaching. Teachers in our study, perceived research as a practical, hands-on device and a means towards solving their teaching problems. The conclusion is that teachers' perceptions with the research activities are mainly positive. We can conclude that research activities considerably contribute to EFL teachers' linguistic and professional development. Another point I want to emphasize is that teachers found this research engagement as a refresher tool, during which they had the opportunity to critically challenge their assumptions, revisit and update their traditional approaches to language teaching and learning. Also, the findings of this study were also consistent with some previous results. I have some practical recommendations regarding the conclusions. Research skills course should be included in pre and in-service teacher education programs to raise awareness about the link between theory and practice. There seems a need to create organizational cultures or communities of practice that support teachers' engagement with research. What I mean is that collaboration and cooperation between teachers and researchers should be enhanced. It is necessary to translate research findings into usable pedagogical tools, conduct classroom research with research procedures integrated into existing curricula. And what were the limitations of my study? As I have mentioned before, this study was carried out during the online COVID pandemic process. So I could only work with 6 teachers, and they were all female teachers. The sample size in the study is not large enough to claim any generalizable results. But I could gain deeper insights into their perceptions with the help of the interviews, their journal notes and reflection notes. And we expect that these views and beliefs, at least to some extent, be shared by some teachers in similar contexts. Another limitation of this study was that the scope of the study was only confined to the qualitative data. And one more thing I want to add is that teachers without MA degrees can participate in this kind of study to have a deeper understanding of the contributions of reading theory into the professional development of foreign language teachers. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much for your kind participation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Min Bektash, instructor and postgraduate student at Urdu University. Thank you for your knowledge and thank you for your time. And I believe you'll have a partner, Dr. Professor Turgay Han.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, Professor. I want to greet everybody there.
Hello, welcome, and start when ready, please.
I would like to greet everybody there. I also want to thank my co-presenter. Greetings from Turkey.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, see you. Goodbye.
All right. Many thanks to our 2 colleagues who have shared their knowledge with us. And now we move on to the 3rd presentation by Assistant Professor Gülten Kushar, who is an assistant professor at Hatay Mustafa Kemal University at Turkey. The presentation is entitled A Qualitative Case Study into Turkish Pre-Service English as a Foreign Language Teacher's Views About It. So please start when ready.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, please.
All right, yeah, there's a problem with the title of my research because only half of it was shared in the conference program. But I guess now you can see the title of my research.
All right. Okay.
All right, thank you very much again. Okay, does online teaching enable the achievement of the English language learning objectives specified in the 9th to 12th grades English curriculum? A qualitative case study into Turkish pre-service English as a foreign language teacher's views about it. I thought that it would be a good idea to start my presentation by providing brief information about effective online teaching. Why? Because effective online teaching plays an important role in achieving the language learning objectives specified in the curriculum. So I guess the first thing I need to talk about is the qualities required to be effective online language teachers. According to Murphy et al., effective online language teachers attach more significance to interpersonal skills. And also effective online language teachers give importance to online learners' personal life context. And also they have good technological skills. And according to Captain, effective online language teachers have 3 different skills. The first of which is the skill of using technology in online language teaching. And also the second one is being knowledgeable about online language teaching pedagogy. And the last one is the skill of evaluating their online language teaching experiences. But of course, in online language teaching, language teachers could face some problems. For instance, according to Stigler, there are some teachers preferring to adopt teacher-centered teaching, and this could create some problems in virtual language learning environments. And according to Pepe et al., some language teachers may face some problems with providing clear instructions and also providing timely feedback. And in the literature, when you look at these studies carried out on exploring online language teachers' perceptions with respect to online language teaching, we see that online language teachers have generally positive perceptions regarding online language teaching. For instance, one of these studies is carried out by Manekre and Sabiri, and in their study, the online language teachers also stated that they had positive perceptions regarding online language teaching, and they actually claimed that they could get to know their students better in virtual learning environments. In the literature, it's also stated that teacher professional development programs are not sufficient to help teachers acquire skills in using technology. And for this reason, continuing professional development activities are suggested to help language teachers to acquire the skills that are necessary in using technology while teaching foreign languages in online language environments. And also it's important to train not only in-service teachers, but also pre-service teachers in the use of technology in teaching languages. Online language learning is definitely very important in this era. Why? Because online language learning liberates language learning from the limitations of classroom teaching. And also online language learning enables authentic and meaningful learning. Online language learning is also really very important because it can reduce foreign language speaking anxiety. And also it enables development in language skills. Online language learning is of high significance. Why? Because it enables online learners to collaborate together by engaging in group work and by providing feedback to their group members. Online language learning is also important because it enables language learners to gain control over their own language learning. Now the curriculum, the language learning objectives specified in the 9th to 12th grades English curriculum in Turkey are as follows. Okay, it's important to engage learners of English in stimulating, motivating, and enjoyable learning environments so that they can become effective, fluent, and independent users of English. In the curriculum, it's also emphasized that teachers should try to foster communicative skills in English by using technological tools and by encouraging collaboration among students. Another significant language learning objective pointed out in the curriculum is improving students' communicative competence through the teaching of 4 language skills in an integrated way and through implementing task-based, collaborative, and project-based language learning. And also in the curriculum, it's emphasized that teachers, English language teachers, should foster language learners learning by themselves. In other words, their autonomy in language learning. And in the curriculum, there is also one more point which I believe should be stressed, and it is the characteristics of English language teaching and learning environment. So teachers in the classroom should communicate in English at all times, and they should act as good role models for their students. And also English language teachers should employ inductive teaching methods in their English lessons. And furthermore, they should use positive reinforcement in the classroom to nurture their students' willingness and to increase student motivation to learn English. And moreover, English language teachers should encourage and they should train their students to learn English independently. And of course, there are some things that are shared for students. So in English classrooms, students should also communicate in English all the time. And just like their teachers should communicate in English, and so their students should communicate in English all the time in the classroom too. And also English language learners are supposed to be active participants during English lessons. And also English language learners are supposed to practice real life English in diverse contexts to become effective communicators in English. And also they should practice 4 language skills in an integrated way. Now, I want to say a few things about teaching practicum. As we all know, teaching practicum is very important for pre-service EFL teachers. Why? Because they can gain experience in real classroom settings. They can observe their mentor teachers teaching, and also they can practice teaching English in teaching practicum. And because of these reasons, teaching practicum is really so significant to pre-service EFL teachers, the senior pre-service EFL teachers. However, due to COVID-19 pandemic in Turkey, I'm sure just like other cases in other countries in the world, the senior pre-service EFL teachers in Turkey couldn't go to their practicum schools, their placement schools. Instead, they completed their teaching practicums in online environments. But of course, online teaching practicum is still so important for the pre-service EFL teachers. Why? Because they again observed their mentor teachers, they observed their teachers teaching in virtual learning environments. And in the future, they might confront some, let's say, problems or different kinds of pandemics in which they will have to teach in online environments too. And for this reason, online teaching practicum was really very important for the participants of this study, and I'm sure for the other pre-service EFL teachers receiving education in different countries in the world. Okay, I believe that this study is a significant study. Why? Because this study examines 12 senior Turkish pre-service EFL teachers' perceptions regarding if online teaching enables the achievement of the English language learning objectives specified in the 9th to 12th grades English curriculum. And considering the absence of research on this topic in the literature, I can claim that this study is a very significant study and can contribute a lot to the existing literature on pre-service EFL teacher education, on teaching practicum, and also on curriculum studies. This study is designed as a qualitative case study, and 12 senior pre-service EFL teachers took part in this research. 11 of them were female, while 1 of them was male, and the mean age of the participants was 20.6. And I supervised all the participants. They were placed in a state high school, and they were required to join the online lessons taught by their mentor teachers. By the way, these 12 pre-service EFL teachers were mentored by 3 English teachers in their placement schools. And the students who were willing to practice teaching English in an online environment were welcome. I mean, they practiced teaching English online as well. And following the completion of the course, I mean, school experience course, I emailed the qualitative survey I prepared to the participants. And alongside the qualitative survey, I emailed the curriculum to the students. And in the email, I emphasized that only the willing students, the volunteer students were expected to respond to the survey, and I gave them 4 days to respond to the survey. And after the 4 days, all the students emailed back their filled out surveys. And in this slide, you can see the questions in the qualitative survey. The survey has 4 questions. The first one, read the current English language curriculum for high schools, bearing in mind the online lessons taught by your mentor teacher, and you observed, state whether learning objectives specified in the curriculum were accomplished. The second question, if your answer to question 1 is yes, please explain by providing information on the lessons you attended to. The third one, if your answer to question 1 is no, please explain by providing information on the lessons you attended to. And the last question, if your answer to question 1 is no, how do you think learning objectives specified in the curriculum could have been accomplished? Data analysis. All right, the collected data was subjected to thematic analysis. And this thematic analysis was carried out by following the phases proposed by Chris Well. So the first phase was reading the response of the participants to gain an overall understanding of their answers. And after that, the process of coding started. and then the found codes were reviewed to avoid redundancy. And afterwards, the participants' responses were read again and again to guarantee no code was overlooked. And then in the last phase, teams were developed from the determined codes. Now the findings. So the research question is if online teaching enables the achievement of the language learning objectives stated in the curriculum. And all the participants, the 12 pre-service EFL teachers, stated in their responses that the language learning objectives stated in the curriculum were not achieved. And so the theme that was developed from the participants' responses is, as you can see in this table, learning objectives were not achieved. So according to the participants, the online lessons they attended to were based on grammar teaching. And also they stated in their answers that reading was the core skill in almost all the English lessons, online English lessons they joined. The teachers, their mentor teachers, tried to improve their students' reading comprehension skills, and they tried to teach grammatical rules to their students during English lessons. And also speaking skill was ignored. And in the answers, the students also emphasized that students, the online high schoolers, were really demotivated, as well as the demotivation of online high schoolers, the mentor teachers were demotivated. And also high level of student absenteeism was observed in the online lessons. And due to these actually reasons, the language learning objectives in the curriculum were not achieved. Now, like say one excerpt with you. For instance, participant 8 stated, I don't think learning objectives were accomplished considering the online lessons I joined. Students' communicative competence must be improved, but communicative activities were not used during the lessons. Only grammar was taught. And also, I don't think the students were willing to develop their speaking skills. Participants noted, only 7 or 8 students out of 40 joined the lessons. I think that demotivated the teacher, and because of that, they didn't try their best to develop their students' communicative competence. I'm sure you remember the 4th question in the survey. What could have been done by the mentor teachers to enable the achievement of the language learning objectives. And students' responses led to the production of the theme, designing and teaching engaging online lessons. So according to the students, if the mentor teachers had used, let's say, interesting activities in the English lessons, online English lessons, the language learning objectives could have been achieved. And also the participants highlighted in their answers that the teachers, generally speaking, only used coursebook activities, coursebook-based activities. So if the teachers hadn't followed only the activities available in the coursebook, then the language learning objectives could have been achieved as well. And also the participants stressed that if students' communicative abilities had been prioritized, then their communicative competence and their communicative abilities would have been developed. For example, participant 1 stated students' communicative competence could have been improved in online lessons if the teacher had got the students to be involved in interesting communicative tasks. The teacher should have created a comfortable online learning environment to help students develop their speaking skills. All right, the findings in this research indicated that the language learning objective, developing students' communicative competence, was not accomplished in the online lessons. And according to the participants, the reasons that led to not achieving the language learning objectives were demotivated teachers, or low level of student motivation, or high level of student absenteeism, and focusing on teaching grammar, focusing on teaching reading to students while ignoring speaking skill. After going over the reasons stated by the students, I guess the thing that comes to one's mind is the similarity between what happens in online teaching, online English language teaching, and also teaching English in face-to-face classes. Why? Because unfortunately in Turkey, the thing that's, let's say, complained about is not being able to develop our students' communicative competence, because generally grammar teaching is emphasized or centered upon in face-to-face lessons. And as you can see here, the comments of the pre-service EFL teachers indicated that in the online language learning environment, the teachers again focused, or let's say concentrated on teaching grammar, teaching reading to students. So I believe that there's a close similarity between what happens in online English language teaching and English language teaching in face-to-face classes. All right, and the participants in this study also stated that the teachers, let's say, had used engaging activities for the students, then they would have had a chance to help students develop their communicative competence. And I believe that we can say the same thing for the teaching that's conducted in face-to-face classrooms, because if the English language teacher uses engaging activities while teaching English to students, then the students will be, let's say, participating in the English lessons, and then the teacher will have the chance to help the students gain and develop their communicative competence. All right, the findings in this research, I believe, show the significance of getting our pre-service EFL teachers to reflect on their online teaching practicum experiences. Why? Because when they reflect on their online teaching practicum experiences, they will, let's say, gain an understanding of what works and what doesn't work in online English language teaching. And in line with that, when they start to teach in the future in online learning environments, they can try to tailor their teaching by considering what really works in online English language teaching and the things they should refrain from in online English language teaching. And of course, further research is required in different contexts to learn more about pre-service EFL teachers' views about what works in online English language teaching, or whether online language teaching could enable achieving the language learning objectives specified in the curriculum, not only for high schoolers, but also for primary and secondary schoolers. And also to learn about their ideas about the factors that influence achieving success in online language teaching, or the factors that hinder achieving success in online English language teaching. All right, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Gülten Kushal, Assistant Professor at Hatay Mustafa Kemal University from Turkey. Thank you for your knowledge and thank you for your time. Thank you so much. All right, the final.
سفيان دكتور باقي 25 دقيقة 25 دقيقة kaldı.
Okay, so we will be left with 25 minutes. So let's hurry up, please, with the last presentation. Jamil Dogan Sahar Belbey, who is an assistant professor at Najmuddin Erbakan University, Turkey, Middle East Technical University. All right, the presentation is entitled Making the Most of Every Little Opportunity Through Online Course Design. So please be quick. We have about 25 minutes left. Please be quick. Start when ready.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Hello. Good afternoon. It was nice. Am I audible? Is my voice clear, Sufyan?
Yes, it's so clear. Please go ahead.
Okay. It was nice to hear from all these insightful people and from their presentations, Fatima about the students' perceptions of online education, and Mine Hocam about perceptions of second language, English language student teacher researchers, and then Gülten Hocam about the pre-service English teacher views. And finally, I'll be presenting about an online course design. It was where we planted our research, actually, but I'm going to just talk about the experience and will be talking on behalf of my friend at the same time, Seher Balbay from METÜ. Here is the title of my presentation. It is Making the Most of Every Little Opportunity Through Online Course Design. I'm Cemile Doğan, by the way. I work at Necmettin Erbakan University, before I begin, I'd like to share my outline. First of all, I'd like to give some background information with a specific touch to critical thinking as a skill. Then I will talk about my participants and then the weekly tasks that we deliver to our students. Later, I'll be talking about how we designed the course. The course is entitled as Literature in ELT during the online period. Then I'll wrap up with some reflections and questions if there's time. Being considered as one of the main goals of education at any level, and especially in the 21st century. Every field of education emphasizes the significance of teaching critical thinking and promotes ways to make students acquire the skill. The question of in what ways critical thinking develop best still requires further exploration. We can get help from the cognitive science, and at least to understand the elusive, untouchable nature of critical thinking. When the case is the pre-source English language teachers in EFL context, it requires attention from the onset of a course design. So recently, there was a course introduced by Higher Education Council in Turkey, and it is called Critical Thinking and Writing. And this is introduced in second graders curriculum, let me say, for the second graders. At least we do it this way in our faculty. And we thought, together with my friend, the course Literature in ELT may act as a continuum of critical reading and writing course to equip our students with critical thinking skills. Well, first of all, we may go over the skills that a critical thinker is expected to do, at least. A critical thinker is a person to understand logical connections between ideas, identify, construct, and evaluate arguments, detect inconsistencies and common mistakes in reasoning, solve problems systematically, and reflect on the justification of one's own beliefs and values. Critical thinking is comparatively a new method of thinking, teaching and learning, but the intellectual roots of critical thinking goes back to, it is as ancient as Socrates from 2,500 years ago. Well, in a democracy, education is prominent, as we all know, and it's a prerequisite for the survival of the individuals. Education fosters a democratic temper. Sorry, I need to go back. I'm so sorry, I couldn't find a place to go back right on the screen. So sorry to keep you wait. Well, temper and values like liberty, equality, justice, dignity of the individual, which are all necessary for almost every job. Employees need to be able to analyze evidence, question assumptions, test hypotheses, observe and draw conclusions from any form of data. So critical thinking is not just a skill, but a habit formed to help with problem solving, which is necessary for all jobs in our times. Critical thinking is a higher order thinking skill, and unfortunately, technology cannot transform people and make them critical thinkers in one day. The most important critical characteristics is it is a complicated process, and most people are not good at critical thinking. A majority of people, even when they are prompted, may not show basic skills of reasoning and argumentation. Humans are not born critical. We are not designed as critical creatures. To understand the nature of critical thinking from sports like gymnastics or running. Running is something natural. A person without any disabilities can walk or run, but doing gymnastics or doing ballet is not something like that. It is something that you can do with well after many years of painful, expensive, and dedicated training. Even if you're inclined to think critically, it will still be difficult to master because it's a complex skills, built out of other skills that are simpler and easier to acquire. So the lower level skills should be properly studied and mastered as individuals, illustrating gymnastic moves like cartwheel and bridge. Without mastering them, an athlete would not be able to perform a session. They are mastered separately and then combined into coherent assemblies to make up a whole. So if we are not born critical, what kind of thinkers are we? Let me find the right slide. Right, here it is. We like things to make sense, and the kinds of sense we grasp most easily are simple ones, familiar patterns. I'm so sorry. My screen is so fragile. Right. How is it possible to turn these storytelling or listening creatures into critical thinkers in an ELT environment? It seems literature in ELT course may be a good fit for the story readers to acquire the habit of critical thinking. Therefore, we intended to design a course to foster students' critical thinking skill, as they will be able to transmit these skills and to future teacher generations, because they're going to become language teachers. So literature in ELT course include literature works such as novels, and they could fit our purpose very well because of some time limitations introduced in the pandemic period. Unfortunately, the course was designed for non-participants, as all of us were talking about the research carried out this 1.5 years. We wouldn't have the ideal atmosphere as it is in live classroom discussions, pair and group work. I mean the vibrant collaborative atmosphere of a classroom. Another issue was the time allocated, which was shortened in the online platform. Unfortunately, the students were unwilling to participate in activities and discussions, take turns to talk, and that was the previous semester's experience. There was a need for a structured course design, which would also give way to additional practice on critical thinking. First of all, we decided on the content. I mean, made a selection of popular stories from American and British literature. There were conventional ones, the popular ones, among them such as Shirley Jackson's Lottery, Corn Planting by Sharon Anderson, etc. And also, of course, we had less popular ones, which are Ray Bradbury's dystopic stories. And since there were technical problems, again, I'm talking of the experience, a Google Classroom was created for the course, and students were told that synchronous course sessions would be on university's Moodle platform, and this was a must. But Google Classroom would be used for all announcements, links, and information exchange, and weekly materials would be uploaded there 1 week before the course, before the session, I mean. Starting the semester on the 15th of February, the students were informed about the content and measurement and evaluation and the course description. After the introduction of short story elements in the first 2 weeks, which formed the basic structure of every session, then critical tasks were added to each story every week. The instructions were given in the form of a classroom face-to-face talk to the students, with the hope to encourage them to be attentive in the sessions. They either had a notebook or an e-book to put their weekly notes on, talk from the notes. Penzu was one of the tools, web tools that we used for personal journal keeping, and that the one I recommended to the students. but they were free to make their own choice, of course. To activate students' schemata or infer implied meanings more easily while reading. Sometimes visuals were used, and as the one you have in the slide. And sometimes video links were added to weekly announcements. Students were to think, search for the information, compare and contrast, and make analysis and write their synthesis, a paragraph length sometimes, and what is given about that week's topic. Sometimes send them through email, or sometimes they just put them in the chat box during the session. So they needed to make preparations before coming to the session. And these were the list of questions, and they needed to work on these questions for the critical analysis of the stories. Well, each week a meaning element was foregrounded at word, sentence, and text level, but the skeleton of the course content was studying the short story elements every week, together with the literary elements such as point of view, atmosphere, irony, symbolism, etc., which are very typical for a short story course. Well, just like this structure, this was the core that we followed every week, and the additional tasks varied weekly. Just like the structure of a short story, in fact, which reflects all kinds of work. First of all, we set the scene and then worked on the template and regular core of the courses. Then we reached the climax in terms of workload. Students gathered in the classroom online tools. Stories gathered in the classroom online tools to be used as a base in the midterm. Then students started to silence themselves towards the end of the semester. For example, instead of speaking, they just preferred to put their notes in this chat box. Although we were on synchronous session and I was asking this question and letting them to speak, unmuting them. However, they sometimes did not prefer to talk. But it was still okay. We were in the same boat, and then the resolution session can refer to the finals as they did not take it. They did not take an exam from the platform, but wrote questions to short stories, bearing in mind that they will become teachers of English, utilizing short stories in their classroom instruction. Of course, there were things which went smoothly, better than I expected. There may be reasons for it. For example, although I had concerns in mind about the selection of the stories, they were welcomed by the students. It may be because we were not very ambitious in course content. The number of the stories. We scheduled one story per week, but the critical tasks before and after the story were varied, and they were much in content. We scheduled one story, as I said earlier, and whatever weekly assignment was given, they were done on time, although they knew that they will earn 5% from measurement and evaluation of the course, which is not much, but this kept them on board, let's say. I may talk about just one major disadvantage, as my colleagues a few minutes ago told more or less the same thing. Since I delivered this course before, I couldn't feel the same depth and spirit. The vibrant atmosphere of the classroom and catching students' reaction to classroom tasks and then making your change and your freedom to move to another plan B, etc. So you couldn't sense the students' feelings from the online atmosphere as long as they are silent. It seemed a bit more fixed, and I felt myself inhibited by the limitations. A lot of technical problems, which still went during this semester. Well, that is all I can say about this online course design. Thank you very much for bearing through with me. Thank you very much, Sophia.
Thank you so much, Assistant Professor Jamil Dogan. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, there is no time left. So actually, I was about to interrupt you, but fortunately, you stopped. So thank you so much again.
Yeah.
we learned a lot from you. That's certain. This is it. Actually, we were planning to have about 20 minutes for a debate or let's say a discussion session, but unfortunately, I was told that we are run out of time. So again, it's an honor that we met. That I met you guys. I learned a lot from you. I hope this will not be the end. I hope I can meet with you one day. Why not? Once this pandemic will be over. So thank you again, and it's an honor. And
Okay.
all
Şimdi
right, somebody.
Şimdi size katılım belgelerini sergileyeceğiz. السلام عليكم.
Okay.
شهادات المشاركة.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
دكتورة جميلة دوغان. جميلة هجام.
Thank you. So will you?
الدكتورة فاطمة تدار. Gulçan Koşar hocam. Üyesiz Seher Balbay herhalde katılmadı. Doktor Sofyan Maafa hocam. Mine Bektaş hocam. Şimdi Turgay Han hocam. Teşekkür ederiz.
Biz teşekkür
Thank you so much. Teşekkürler.
Kamera açabilir misiniz? Fotoğraf alayım.
Ama dediğim gibi slide paylaşım için ondan sonra.
Tamam, teşekkür ederiz. Şükran lekum.
Thank you so much. Şükran. Teşekkürler.
Teşekkür ederiz. Hoşça kalın.
Teşekkürler. Thank you. Bye bye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
İyi günler.
Goodbye.